Hello and welcome to my Skull Servant deck list for the post-July 2021 ban list. It's in August, but that's the ban list that we currently have. This is my fourth attempt at filming this because I didn't realise how low my storage was. So every time I pressed record, I would look back and it stopped recording partway through. So hence why I'm talking a little fast. I've made some space, but hopefully it's not just going to stop recording soon. But yeah, this isn't a very competitive deck, but this one managed to make top 4s in locals. It beat Drytrons, it beat Dinos, so hopefully you can see the version of this deck which I don't think anyone else runs that I think is quite interesting and can be fairly competitive. So without further ado, let's have a look. So yeah, first off, 3 kings. Anyone who knows the archetype knows what these do. 1,000 attack for every Skull Servant or King of the Skull Servant in the grave. Triple Bear Kings. It's called Skull Servant in the grave, like every white. If level 3 or lower, a zombie would be destroyed by battle or card effect. You can discard it to negate. And then if it's sent to the grave, you can add 2 Skull Servant or cards that name Skull Servant in their effect to your hand. Then discard one. Triple White Princess. If it's normal summoned, you send a White Prince to the grave. And then its other effect is, as a quick effect, you can discard to the grave to make all monsters on the field lose attack and defense equal to its level or rank times 300, which the or rank thing has saved my butt a few times in the tournament scene. Also, obviously, it's called Skull Servant whilst in the grave, as all of these are. Then Triple Nightmares. These are basically things that help you get stuff out of the grave. Out of the banished, sorry. If you discard it, you can target one of your banished Skull Servant or White Mares, return to the graveyard, or target a Lady in White or King of the Skull Servants and special summon it. Then Triple Skull Servants. I'm running these Rush Duel ones just for casual play. In tournaments, obviously, I switch out for these. I just think the art looks better and they're a bit fancier. Then Triple White Prince. It's a shame a lot of this deck doesn't come in any foiling. So yeah, I've had to kind of make do with, and if you've looked at the price of ultra rare Skull Servants, they're not cheap. But anyway, Triple White Princes. If these are sent to the graveyard, you also send a Skull Servant and a Lady in White to the grave. Which, talking of Lady in White, there they are. But the other effective White Princess, you can banish it and a Lady in White and a Skull Servant to special summon from the deck a King of the Skull Servants. Which, yes, it is a very useful effect. Lady in White's effect, though, is face up level 3 or lower zombies, except the Lady in White, cannot be destroyed by battle and are unaffected by the effects of spell and trap cards. And as with all of the whites, these are called Skull Servant in the grave. But yes, that is the monster, all of the monsters for now. Obviously, a lot of people like to run Samurai Skull or Armageddon Knight in this deck. I don't find it necessary, just because of the spell and traps I run. So without further ado, I guess I will go on to those. I run 2 Allure of Darkness. I would run 3, but this deck is a little tight for space at the moment. You need to run as many of these white cards as you can. But any card draw is obviously great. 1 Monster Reborn. Burial from a Different Dimension. 1 for 1, Feverish Burial. All fairly self-explanatory cards. Then moving on, that is all of the spell cards that I run though, so as you can probably tell, there's going to be a lot of traps in this. First of all, it's Triple Trap Trick, because I have decided to put a Trap Trick engine in, because I think this deck kind of needs a little bit of back row support. King of the Skull Servants does die a lot and very easily. So yeah, Triple Imperms. again, any effect negation or protection that you can get for your Skull Servants are going to be good. But on that note, triple Shiranui style success. Now we're on to another card that people might not know what it does, so let's describe that. You can special summon a zombie monster from your hand, but banish it when it leaves the field, as its normal flip effect. But its other effect is you can banish it from the graveyard and target a zombie you control. That zombie monster is unaffected by card effect this turn, except its own. You can only use one effect of Shiranui style success a turn, but it is still very useful to get out a King of the Skull Servants in the end phase of your opponent's turn, and then protect it for the rest of your for your whole turn after that. Then after that, it is 2 Dark Sacrifice. There's another negation. When your opponent activates a card that would destroy a card or cards on the field, negate it, and then send 1 level 3 or lower dark monster from your deck to your grave, which obviously you'll be wanting to send either a White Prince or a White Bay King, because White Bay King lets you search, and White Prince lets you send more things to the grave to buff up your big monster. After that, it is just 2 Haunted Shrines. Haunted Shrines thing is if you control no monsters, you can target a zombie in your grave, special summon it, and then if you control no monsters, you can banish it from your grave and target a zombie in your grave and special summon it, but its effects are negated. Obviously, for the secondary effect, you do not want to go for your king because you need its effect. What you would rather want to go for is the Bay King or a White Prince, because they still get their grave effects, which is what you really want. You just want to use this to throw something in the way of an attack or an effect to make people remove it, give you more monsters in the grave. But that is the whole of the main deck. So moving on to the extra deck. Linkuriboh times 3. Basically, Linkuriboh I've found has saved my butt a few times from its secondary effect, because everyone knows what Linkuriboh does. It's a level 1 monster, and a good amount of your monsters are level 1s. If an opponent declares an attack, you can tribute it, but its secondary effect has really helped as well. If it's in your graveyard, you can quick effect tribute a level 1 and special summon this card. So a lot of the time I've Haunted Shrined out into something and then immediately Linkuriboh'd out of it, so that I've got a bit more protection in my opponent's turn, but at the same time I managed to get my stuff in the grave to do their effects again. Then triple Relinquished Anima. Yeah, they just had to get steal a monster and get its attack. Triple Almirage, protect from destruction effects, and then after this point, the extra deck isn't really important to this deck. What you're really wanting is your main monster, King of the Skull Servants, to be out and smashing things as much as you can. So it gets a bit memey from here on, not gonna lie. I'm running Beat Cop, Vampire Sucker, and Yuki Onma. Beat Cop is some more protection against destroy effects. Vampire Sucker, if a zombie monster is special summoned from either graveyard, draw a card, is really the only effect you're going to be using on this, because there is a fair amount of special summon from the grave effects. And Yuki Onma, it does require 4 monsters, so 2 plus zombies, but it's a big zombie thing that has an interesting effect. If a monster is special summoned from the graveyard or a monster effect activated in the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can target one of the face-up monsters on the field and change its attack to 0 and negate its effects, which is a very useful thing. You won't come across it very often because this deck doesn't tend to run that many monsters at any given moment, but at the same time it is a useful enough effect that I think to run 1, in case, you know, your monsters do get shut down, but they're not necessarily destroyed, which has happened a few times where I've had to have something to link off to, just because my monsters are pretty much crippled on the field. Then from there it is I put Crime and Punishment in, not for any reason of wanting to actually summon them. I just like them, but they are good. They are not necessarily good in competitive anymore. I just like them, they're fun. And then finally a Bamboozling. Really, I should probably run 3 Bamboozling over the Crime and Punishment, because you do run a couple of threes. You run Lady in White and White Princess, and as said before, you can special summon Lady in Whites from Banished with White Mares, so it is not impossible that you'll be able to special summon them. And Bamboozling is another effect negation that you'd be able to have. So yeah, that's the deck list. I hope I managed to describe the strategy well enough, and that you can see kind of what I'm doing with the deck and why it's did pretty okay at locals. So I'd like to hear any feedback you have, but yeah, bye I guess.